The Great Hall of the Galactic Assembly stretched for nearly 2 kilometers. Its ceiling was made of living crystal that shifted colors based on the mood of those inside. Today, it glowed a satisfied purple. The representatives of 412 species sat in their designated sections, their forms ranging from massive stone creatures to beings made entirely of light. At the center of the hall stood a single human. Ambassador Park Ho was 53 years old. He had gray hair at his temples and calm brown eyes that had seen too many political games. He wore a simple dark suit, nothing fancy. Behind him, a holographic image of Earth floated in the air, blue and green and beautiful. The Supreme Chancellor, a tall creature named, clicked his mandibles together 3 times. This was the signal for silence. The hall went quiet. "We have reached a decision," announced. His voice was translated instantly into every language present. After 7 cycles of debate and 3,422 formal complaints, the Galactic Assembly has voted. Ho did not move, he simply watched. "Earth and its people are hereby exiled from all galactic affairs," continued. "Effective immediately, humans are banned from galactic trade routes, diplomatic channels, and shared scientific programs. All jump gates connected to the Sol system will be deactivated within 30 standard days. Any human found outside the Sol system after this period will be arrested and returned to Earth by force." A wave of satisfied murmurs passed through the assembly. The delegation, creatures that looked like blue-skinned giants, actually applauded. The beings of pure energy flickered with what could only be described as happiness. Ho stood there alone and waited. "Do you have anything to say, Ambassador?" asked. There was a hint of pleasure in his translated voice. He had worked for decades to make this happen. Ho smiled. It was not the smile of a defeated man. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for this exact moment. "May I ask for the specific reasons?" he said. His voice was calm, almost pleasant. His compound eyes narrowed. "You know the reasons, human. Your species is aggressive, unpredictable. In just 200 years of galactic contact, you have disrupted more trade agreements than any species in history. You have challenged established hierarchies. You have questioned sacred traditions. You breed too fast. You think too differently. You are, simply put, incompatible with galactic civilization." "I see," Ho said. He nodded slowly as if this all made perfect sense. And the vote was unanimous. 398 in favor, 14 abstentions, 0 against. Not a single species voted to keep us. Not one. Ho took a deep breath. The assembly watched him, expecting tears or anger or desperate pleading. They had seen it before from other exiled species. The begging, the promises to change, the threats that never meant anything. Instead, Ho reached into his pocket and pulled out a small device. He pressed a button. "This is Ambassador Park Ho," he said clearly. "Authorization code Sunrise 77, execute protocol homecoming." For a moment, nothing happened. Then, on every screen in the assembly hall, images began to appear. They showed the 4 jump gates connected to Earth's solar system. Massive structures, each one a miracle of galactic engineering that had taken centuries to build. Human ships surrounded each gate, not warships, construction vessels, and they were already working. "What is this?" demanded. "We are dismantling our own jump gates," Ho said simply. The hall exploded in confusion. Representatives shouted over each other. The delegate stood up so fast he knocked over 3 smaller species. The flickered wildly between colors. "You cannot do that," shouted. "Those gates are galactic property." "Actually, they are not," Ho said. He pulled out a data pad and held it up. "According to the Treaty of First Contact, Section 47, Paragraph 12, any species that funded more than 60% of a jump gate's construction maintains ownership rights. Earth funded 73% of all 4 gates connected to our system. We were young and eager to connect with the galaxy. We paid extra to speed up the process." He smiled again. "They are our gates, and we are taking them apart." Chancellor's mandibles clicked rapidly. This was a sign of extreme distress among his species. "But why? We are exiling you, not destroying you. The gates would remain inactive. Perhaps in a few centuries you might be allowed to rejoin." "No," Ho said. The word was soft but final. "You have made it clear that we are not wanted. We accept this decision completely. In fact, we anticipated it." "Anticipated it?" The delegate flickered forward. "How long have you known this would happen?" "We have suspected for about 50 years, Ho admitted. "The complaints started small, but they grew. The insults became more common. The trade restrictions tightened. We knew where this was heading, so we prepared." "Prepared for what?" demanded. Ho looked around the great hall. 412 species watched him. None of them had ever voted in humanity's favor. None of them had ever defended humans when the complaints came. None of them had ever visited Earth just to say hello. "We prepared to leave," he said simply, "and to never look back." He turned to walk out of the hall. His footsteps echoed in the sudden silence. "Wait," called out. "You cannot simply leave. There are procedures, exit interviews, asset distributions." Ho stopped but did not turn around. "You exiled us. You do not get to tell us how to go." "But the gates, the technology, the knowledge is ours. We built it. We improved it. We shared it freely because we thought we were part of a community. We were wrong." Now Ho turned. His calm eyes met the Chancellor's compound ones. "We will take everything that belongs to us, every piece of technology we developed, every scientific advancement we shared, every cultural exchange program we funded. We are going home and we are closing the door behind us." "This is madness," the delegate rumbled. "No species has ever done this. When we exile someone, they fight to stay, they beg, they try to sneak back, they do not just leave." "We are not other species," Ho said. "We are human." He walked toward the exit. The massive doors began to open automatically. "You will regret this," shouted. "Alone in your little solar system, you will stagnate. You will forget how to travel the stars. In 1,000 years, you will be primitives again, and you will wish you had begged us for mercy." Ho paused at the door. He looked back one last time. "Perhaps," he said, "or perhaps not. I guess you will never know." And then he was gone. The assembly sat in stunned silence for a long time. No one knew what to say. This had never happened before. Exiled species fought. They screamed. They threatened. They did not smile and walk away. Finally, the delegate spoke. "Did we make a mistake?" "No," said firmly. "Humans are dangerous, unpredictable, aggressive. We did what was necessary for galactic peace." "They did not seem aggressive," another delegate murmured. "The ambassador was very calm." "That is exactly what makes them dangerous," snapped. "They hide their true nature. They pretend to be peaceful while they plot and scheme. We are better off without them." The assembly voted to end the session early. There was nothing left to discuss. The exile was official. The humans were leaving. No one noticed that Ho had left his data pad behind. It sat on the floor where he had dropped it, its screen still glowing. If anyone had looked, they would have seen a message displayed in simple letters. "Thank you for setting us free." On Earth, the news spread quickly. Every human on the planet knew within hours. The galaxy had voted. They were exiled. They were alone. The response surprised everyone. People did not panic. They did not riot. They did not weep in the streets. Instead, they got to work. In Seoul, engineers began designing new types of spacecraft that did not need jump gates. In New York, scientists started projects that had been forbidden under galactic law. In Tokyo, artists created murals celebrating humanity's independence. In Lagos, philosophers wrote new theories about the human place in the universe. Ho returned to Earth 3 weeks later. He was greeted not as a failure, but as a hero. The man who had walked away with his head held high. His daughter met him at the spaceport. She was 25, with her father's calm eyes and her mother's quick smile. "How do you feel?" she asked. Ho looked up at the sky. Soon the jump gates would be gone. The galaxy would be closed to them. Earth would be truly alone. "Free," he said. "I feel free." "Are you scared?" "No." He put his arm around her shoulders. "We spent 200 years trying to fit into their rules, trying to be acceptable, trying to prove we belonged, and they still rejected us. Do you know what that taught me?" "What?" "That we were never meant to fit into their galaxy. We are meant to build our own." Smiled. "The scientists say we might be able to develop new ways to travel, ways the galactic species never thought of." "I know. Without their restrictions, without their rules about what is possible and what is forbidden, we can finally think freely." Ho smiled. "They thought exile would destroy us. They thought we would become primitives without their guidance. They forgot one important thing about humans." "What is that?" "We do our best work when everyone tells us we cannot." The last jump gate was dismantled exactly 30 days after the exile was announced. The final piece was removed by a young engineer who was only 19 years old. She held the small component in her hand and looked at the stars. "Goodbye, galaxy," she whispered. "We will see you again someday, and when we do, you will not believe what we have become." She did not know how right she was. The galaxy quickly forgot about Earth. There were other matters to attend to, other species to manage, other trade routes to establish. The Sol system became a blank spot on star charts, marked only with a simple warning: exiled species, do not approach. Life went on. But on Earth, in the quiet of their isolated solar system, humanity began to change. They had been given something precious: the freedom to fail, to experiment, to become whatever they wanted to be. And they intended to use every moment of it. 50 years passed like water flowing downhill. The galaxy continued its slow dance of politics and trade, of wars and treaties, of species rising and falling. And in all that time, almost no one thought about Earth. Captain was not thinking about Earth when her ship began to die. She was 34 years old, a merchant captain of the trading fleet. She had blue skin like all her people, standing nearly 3 meters tall with muscles built for a high-gravity world. Her ship, the Steady Fortune, carried medical supplies from the inner systems to the outer colonies. The Steady Fortune was not a lucky ship. Its engines had problems. Its navigation computer was old. Its hull had been patched so many times it looked like a quilt made of metal. But loved it, it was hers. "Captain, we have a problem," her navigator said. His name was Boram, a young who had joined her crew just 6 months ago. He was still learning, but he was smart and eager. "What kind of problem?" asked. "The main engine is failing. We need to stop for repairs." Check the navigation charts. They were in a quiet part of space, far from any major trade routes. The nearest repair station was 2 weeks away at their current speed. With a failing engine, they might not make it. "What is the closest planet?" she asked. Boram checked his screens. His blue face went pale. "Captain, there is nothing close. Well, nothing we can use." "Show me." He pulled up the star chart. One star system was highlighted in red, with warning symbols all around it. "The Sol system," Boram said quietly. "The exiled humans." Stared at the chart. The Sol system was just 3 days away at minimum speed. It was the only option. "We cannot go there," Boram said. "It is forbidden. The humans are dangerous. Everyone knows the stories." "What stories?" asked. She had heard rumors, of course, everyone had, but she had never paid much attention. Humans had been exiled before she was born. To her generation, they were almost mythical creatures. "They are violent," Boram said. "Aggressive, they eat other species, they torture prisoners, they—" "They have been alone for 50 years, interrupted. "Whatever they were, they are probably primitives now. No galactic technology, no jump gates, no contact with the outside. They cannot hurt us. But the law. The law says we cannot approach. It does not say anything about crashing because our engine failed. Made her decision. Set course for the Sol system. We will land on one of the outer planets, make repairs, and leave. No one will ever know. Bahram wanted to argue, but he could see there was no choice. The engine was getting worse. They would not survive 2 weeks in open space. Yes, Captain, he said reluctantly. The trip to the Sol system took 3 days. Each day, the engine got weaker. By the time they reached the edge of the system, the steady Fortune was barely moving. We are here, Bahram announced. His voice was tight with fear. Looked at the view screen. The Sol system looked normal. A yellow star, 8 planets, various moons and asteroids, nothing special. No signals, she said, surprised. No communication traffic, no ships. They probably went back to primitive technology, Bahram said. No radio, no computers, just basic survival. Maybe, did not feel convinced. Something felt wrong, but she could not explain what. There, she pointed at the 6th planet. Saturn, we can land on one of its moons, make repairs away from their home world. Bahram nodded and set the course. The steady Fortune limped toward Saturn, its engine barely functioning. They were halfway there when everything changed. Captain, Bahram shouted, something is wrong with the sensors. Rushed to his station. The screens were going crazy, numbers that made no sense, readings that should have been impossible. What is happening? She demanded. I do not know. It is like space itself is different here. The physics are wrong. Before could respond, the ship shook violently. The lights flickered. Warning alarms screamed. We are being pulled, Bahram yelled. Some kind of gravity field. I cannot break free. Grabbed the controls, but it was useless. The steady Fortune was caught like a fish in a net. They were being dragged toward one of Saturn's moons at incredible speed. Brace for impact, she shouted. But there was no impact. The ship slowed down gently, as if invisible hands were catching it. They landed softly on a smooth metal surface. The alarm stopped, the lights stabilized, everything was quiet. What just happened? Bahram whispered. Looked out the window and felt her heart stop. They had not landed on a moon. They had landed on a station. A massive space station that circled Saturn like a ring. It stretched for thousands of kilometers, gleaming silver and white under Saturn's reflected light. That is impossible, Bahram said. 50 years. They have only been alone for 50 years. No one could build something like this in 50 years. It would take centuries. Apparently not, said quietly. A voice came through their communication system. It spoke in perfect, with no accent at all. Welcome to Sol Station 7. Please remain calm. A repair team will assist you shortly. Do you require medical attention? And Bahram looked at each other. Neither knew what to say. We are fine, finally answered. Our engine failed, we just need repairs. Understood, please wait. Someone will be with you in approximately 4 minutes. The communication ended. This is wrong, Bahram said. This is all wrong. They should be primitive. They should be struggling to survive. How do they have a station like this? How do they know our language? I do not know, admitted, but I think we are about to find out. Exactly 4 minutes later, a door opened in the side of their ship. Not their door, a door that had not existed before. A woman walked through it. She was small by standards, barely 1.5 meters tall. She had black hair pulled back in a simple style and warm brown eyes. She wore a gray uniform with no markings. Hello, she said in perfect. My name is, I am the director of this station. Welcome to the Sol system. Stood slowly, towering over the small human. How did you open a door in our ship? We scanned your vessel when you entered the system, explained calmly. We created a compatible airlock. I apologize for not asking permission first, but your engine was in critical condition. We needed to act quickly. You scanned us, Boram stepped forward. We did not detect any scans. No, you would not have, smiled gently. Your sensors are not designed to detect our methods. What methods? Demanded. Tilted her head slightly. I think it would be easier to show you. Would you like a tour while your ship is being repaired? It will take approximately 2 hours. Did not know what to do. Everything she had been told about humans was clearly wrong. They were supposed to be primitive, violent, dangerous. This woman was polite, calm, and apparently in charge of the most advanced space station had ever seen. Yes, she said finally, I would like to see. Led them out of the ship and into the station. What they saw took their breath away. The station was not just big, it was alive. Plants grew along every wall. Water flowed through transparent tubes. Light came from panels that seemed to capture and redirect the sun itself. Thousands of humans walked through the halls, going about their business without fear or hurry. This station is home to 300,000 people, explained as they walked. It is one of 12 stations around Saturn. We have similar installations around every planet in our system. 12 stations, Boram's voice cracked, just around Saturn. Yes, Saturn has many resources. It was a logical place to expand. Stopped walking. How? She asked. How did you do all this in 50 years? The galactic record for space station construction is 200 years for something half this size. Turned to face her. Her expression was patient, almost kind. When we were part of the galaxy, we followed galactic rules. We used galactic methods. We thought the way you taught us to think. But when you exiled us, you set us free. Free to do what? Free to try things that were supposed to be impossible, gestured at the station around them. Galactic physics says certain things cannot be done, certain speeds cannot be reached, certain materials cannot be created. We decided to check if that was actually true. And it was not, guessed. Much of it was not. Your scientists made assumptions thousands of years ago and never questioned them. We questioned everything. They continued the tour, showed them the engine rooms, where power was generated in ways did not understand. She showed them the medical bay, where diseases that killed millions of galactic citizens could be cured in minutes. She showed them the research labs, where scientists worked on projects that would have been illegal under galactic law. This is incredible, Boram admitted. I have never seen anything like this. We have been busy, said simply. Had one question that burned in her mind. You could have contacted the galaxy. You could have shown them what you achieved. Why did you not? Was quiet for a moment. Do you remember why we were exiled? Because you were dangerous, aggressive, incompatible with galactic civilization. Because we were different, corrected gently. We thought differently. We challenged things. We asked questions that made others uncomfortable. The galaxy did not exile us because we were dangerous. They exiled us because we made them feel afraid. Afraid of what? Afraid that we might be right. Afraid that their way was not the only way. Afraid that if they let us stay, we might change things. Looked out a window at the stars. We could contact them now. We could show them what we have become. But why? Because you have achieved so much, said. Because they need to know they were wrong. Do they? Turned back to her. The galaxy made it very clear that they did not want us. They voted unanimously. 412 species said we did not belong. Not one defended us. She shook her head. We do not need their approval. We do not need their recognition. We built all of this for ourselves, not to prove anything to anyone else. The tour ended at a repair bay, where the steady fortune was being fixed by small robots that moved too fast to see clearly. Your ship will be ready in 1 hour, said. You are welcome to stay longer if you wish, but I understand if you want to leave. Looked at her ship, then at the station, then at the small human woman who had shown her more wonders in 2 hours than she had seen in her entire life. "Why are you helping us?" she asked. "We are from the galaxy that rejected you. Our people voted for your exile." "You are travelers whose ship broke down," said simply. "That is all that matters to us. The past is the past. We do not hold grudges against individuals for what their governments did 50 years ago." "But you remember." "Of course we remember. We remember everything. But remembering is not the same as hatting," smiled. "The galaxy chose to exile us. We chose to become something new. Both choices had consequences. We are living with ours. They are living with theirs." 1 hour later, the steady fortune was completely repaired. Not just patched, improved. The engine ran smoother than it ever had. The navigation computer was faster. The hull was stronger. "Thank you," said Tu as they prepared to leave. "I do not know what to say." "You do not need to say anything. Safe travels, Captain." Will you ever contact the galaxy again?" "Thought about this. Perhaps if they ask, but they will not ask. They have forgotten we exist, and honestly we prefer it that way." Wanted to argue, but she could not find the words. The steady fortune lifted off and flew away from the station, away from Saturn, toward the edge of the Sol system. Bahram was quiet for a long time. Finally he spoke. "We should tell someone. The assembly needs to know." "Know what?" asked. "That the species they exiled is doing better than any of them. That humans built more in 50 years than most species build in 5,000. "Yes, exactly that." "And what do you think will happen?" Bahram did not answer. He knew. Everyone would panic, everyone would feel threatened, and nothing good would come from it. "We say nothing," decided. "Our ship was repaired at a small station, that is all." "But nothing good comes from fear, Bahram. Let the humans have their peace. They earned it." They flew out of the Sol system and back into galactic space. Behind them, the 12 stations of Saturn continued their slow orbit, gleaming silver against the darkness. Inside one of those stations, watched the merchant ship disappear. She wondered if the captain would keep their secret. She hoped so. But either way, it did not matter. Humanity was ready for whatever came next. They had waited 50 years. They could wait a little longer. Kept her promise. She told no one about what she had seen in the Sol system. She filed a simple report about engine repairs at an unnamed station and continued her merchant routes as if nothing had happened. But she could not forget. Every night when she closed her eyes, she saw those 12 stations circling Saturn. She saw the plants growing on the walls. She saw the small human woman with calm eyes explaining impossible things. She heard the words that haunted her. "We questioned everything." 5 years passed, flew her routes, delivered her cargo, paid her crew. The steady fortune ran better than ever, thanks to the human repairs. Sometimes she wondered if her ship contained technology that did not officially exist. She never checked too closely. Then the message came. It arrived on a private channel, encrypted in a way her computer almost could not decode. The sender was listed simply as H. "Captain, we need your help. If you are willing, return to the place where we first met. Come alone." Bahram had left her crew 2 years ago, transferred to a larger ship closer to his home world. None of her current crew members knew about the Sol system. She had never told anyone. She stared at the message for a long time. Then she set course for Saturn. The journey took 5 days. When she crossed into the Sol system, she felt a strange mix of fear and excitement. What would she find? Had things changed? Were the humans okay? The same invisible force caught her ship as before, guiding it gently to a station. But this was not Sol Station 7. This was something else entirely. The station was smaller but more beautiful. Its surfaces were covered in what looked like living gold, pulsing with soft light. Strange symbols decorated the walls, mathematical patterns that seemed to shift when tried to focus on them. was waiting for her at the airlock. "Thank you for coming," she said. Stepped off her ship and looked around. "What is this place?" "Our research center, the place where we do our most important work," gestured for her to follow. "I have something to show you, something I did not show you before." They walked through corridors that seemed to bend in impossible ways. Sometimes felt like she was walking uphill, but her eyes told her the floor was flat. Other times, she could see rooms that appeared to be both above and below her at the same time. "This hurts my head," she admitted. "I am sorry. Our architecture is different from what you are used to. Your brain will adjust." They entered a large room filled with holographic displays. Each one showed images of stars, planets, galaxies. Data streams flowed between them like rivers of light. "What is all this?" asked. "Our view of the universe." Touched one of the displays and it expanded to fill the entire room. Suddenly was standing in space, surrounded by billions of stars. "This is not a simulation. This is a real-time observation. We can see almost everything in the galaxy from here." "That is not possible. Light takes thousands of years to travel from distant stars." "Light does, yes, but information does not have to," smiled slightly. "I told you we questioned everything, including the rules about what can and cannot travel faster than light." "Felt dizzy. You broke the light barrier." "Not exactly. We found ways around it. Different paths. The galactic scientists were not wrong about their physics, but they were incomplete. They only saw part of the picture." "Why are you showing me this?" Was quiet for a moment. The holographic stars spun slowly around them, ancient light from distant worlds. "Because something is coming," she said finally. "Something bad." She touched another control and the view changed. Now they were looking at the edge of the galaxy, where stars became thin and darkness grew deep. "We have been watching the galaxy for 50 years, explained. "Observing without interfering. We wanted to understand what we left behind, and 3 years ago we noticed something strange." The display zoomed in on a particular region of space. At first, saw nothing. Then she noticed that certain stars were missing, not dim, missing, complete darkness where light should have been. "What happened to those stars?" she asked. "They were eaten." "Eaten by what?" Manipulated the display again. This time, saw something moving in the darkness. It was hard to see clearly, but it looked like a cloud. A massive, spreading cloud that consumed everything in its path. "We call it the Void Swarm," said. "It is not one creature, it is billions, maybe trillions. They travel through space in a vast formation and they consume everything they touch. Stars, planets, ships, stations. Nothing survives contact with them." Felt cold. "How big is this swarm?" "Right now, it covers an area about the size of the home system." Paused. "But it is growing. Every star it eats makes it stronger, and it is heading toward the core of the galaxy. The Assembly needs to know about this." "They know." His voice was flat. "We have been sending anonymous warnings for 2 years. We disguised the source so they would not know it came from humans. We gave them all the data, all the observations, all the predictions. And they ignored it. They called it a hoax. Some of them thought it was a human trick to be allowed back into galactic society. Others said our data must be wrong because their own sensors did not detect anything." "Their sensors cannot see what you see," realized. "Exactly. Galactic technology is limited in ways the Assembly does not understand. They cannot detect the Void Swarm until it is close enough to start eating their worlds. By then, it will be too late." Sat down heavily on a chair that appeared beneath her. The room seemed to sense her need and provided for it. She did not even question how anymore. "How long?" she asked. "At its current speed and trajectory, the swarm will reach the first major populated system in approximately 20 years. The core worlds, including the Assembly headquarters, will be reached in 50. 50 years, that is not much time." No, it is not. They sat in silence, surrounded by stars, watching the darkness grow at the edge of everything. Why did you call me here? Finally asked. I am nobody, a merchant captain with a patched ship. What can I do? Looked at her with those calm eyes. You kept our secret. For 5 years you could have told anyone. You could have sold the information for profit. You could have used it to advance your career. But you said nothing. I gave you my word. Yes, and you kept it. That means something to us. Stood and walked to the edge of the room where the holographic display met the real wall. We need someone in the galaxy, someone who knows the truth about us, someone who can watch and listen and report back. You want me to spy for you? I want you to be our eyes and ears, nothing more. We will not ask you to steal secrets or sabotage anything. We just need to know what is happening out there, how the galaxy is changing, whether anyone is preparing for the swarm. Thought about this? Why not just reveal yourselves, show the galaxy what you have become, make them listen? Because they would not listen. They would panic. They would see our technology and feel threatened. Instead of preparing for the real danger, they would spend all their energy trying to contain us. Shook her head. We learned this lesson 50 years ago. The galaxy does not want our help. They fear us more than they fear extinction. But if the swarm is coming, then they will need to realize it themselves. We cannot force them to believe us. We can only be ready when they finally ask for help. And you think they will ask? Smiled sadly. Eventually, when the swarm is close enough to see with their own limited sensors, when their worlds start dying, when there is no one else to turn to, they will remember the humans they exiled, and they will come begging. That is a harsh way to think about it. It is a realistic way. We do not enjoy being right about this. We wish the galaxy would listen. We wish they would prepare, but they will not, so we wait. Stood up again. The chair disappeared beneath her as smoothly as it had appeared. What do you need me to do? Just watch. Travel your routes. Listen to rumors. If you hear anything about strange disappearances near the outer rim or about species noticing missing stars, let us know. We will give you a secure way to contact us. And in return, we will continue to maintain your ship. We will help you if you need it. And when the time comes, when the galaxy finally wakes up, you will be the bridge between us. Considered the offer. It was dangerous. If anyone found out she was working with the exiled humans, she would be arrested, maybe executed. Galactic law had no mercy for those who cooperated with prohibited species. But what choice did she have? She had seen the truth. She could not unsee it. The void swarm was coming and the galaxy was sleepwalking toward destruction. I will do it, she said. Nodded as if she had expected nothing else. Thank you, Captain. One more thing before you go. She led to another part of the station, through more impossible corridors, until they reached a window that looked out at empty space. Except the space was not empty. Ships filled the void. Thousands of them, maybe millions. They floated in perfect formation, each one sleek and elegant and completely unlike anything had ever seen. Our fleet said, built over 50 years, crewed by volunteers who know what is coming. They are not weapons of war, they are arcs, rescue ships. When the swarm comes, these ships will be ready to save as many lives as possible. Felt tears in her eyes. She did not know why. You are preparing to rescue the same people who exiled you. They are still people. They did not choose to be born into a galaxy that feared us. They did not vote for our exile. Most of them were not even alive when it happened. His voice was soft but strong. We do not forgive the assembly. We will never forget what they did, but we will not let billions of innocents die because of their leaders' arrogance. That is more than they deserve. Perhaps, but it is who we are. It is who we choose to be. Looked at the fleet for a long time. Each ship was a promise, a commitment, a hope for a future that might never come. How do you stay hopeful, she asked, after everything they did to you? Thought about this. Hope is not something we have, it is something we do. Every day we choose to build, to prepare, to be ready. That is hope, not a feeling but an action. They walked back to ship in comfortable silence. At the airlock, pressed a small device into her hand. To contact us. It is untraceable. Use it only when you have something important to report. Looked at the device, then at, will I see you again? I hope so, in better circumstances. So do I. Boarded her ship and flew away from the station. As she crossed out of the Sol system, she looked back one last time. The stations were invisible from this distance, hidden among the stars, but she knew they were there, waiting. She thought about the void swarm, slowly eating its way toward the heart of civilization. She thought about the galactic leaders, ignoring warnings they could not understand. She thought about the humans, building rescue ships for people who hated them. The galaxy had chosen to exile Earth, and Earth had chosen to save the galaxy anyway. Wiped her eyes and set course for the nearest trading post. She had work to do. Back on the station, watched the merchant ship disappear into the darkness between stars. A young man walked up beside her. His name was One, and he was one of her senior researchers. "Do you think she will keep her word?" he asked. "Yes." "How can you be sure?" Smiled, because she has already proven who she is. 5 years of silence, that takes strength. "And if she betrays us?" "Then we will adapt, that is what we do." One nodded slowly. "The fleet is ready, the supplies are prepared, we have done everything we can." "Not everything," said. "There is always more to do, but we have done enough to matter. When the time comes, we will be there. Even for the ones who exiled us. Especially for them, because that is the difference between us and them. They made decisions based on fear. We make decisions based on what is right." She turned away from the window and walked back into the station. There was work to do. There was always work to do. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the void swarm continued its slow march toward the heart of everything. 15 years after second visit to the Sol system, the first world died. It was a small planet called home to a species of gentle creatures who had never harmed anyone. They were farmers and artists, known across the galaxy for their beautiful music and their delicious fruits. Their population was only about 200 million. One day their star began to dim. Within a week it was gone. The void swarm had eaten it whole. They tried to evacuate, but they had few ships and no time. When the swarm reached their planet, every living thing on its surface was consumed in less than a day. Not killed, consumed, absorbed into the darkness. No survivors, no recordings, nothing remained but silence. The galaxy noticed. Supreme Chancellor was old now, his shell grayed with age and his mandibles slow to click. He had led the assembly for 65 years, longer than any chancellor in history. He had made the decision to exile humanity. He had been certain it was the right choice. Now, standing in the great hall where he had once pronounced humanity's banishment, he faced a galaxy in panic. "This is unprecedented," the delegate said. Her light flickered with fear. "An entire species gone in days, an entire star eaten." "It must be some kind of weapon," the representative rumbled. He was the son of the one who had applauded humanity's exile. He had inherited his father's seat and his father's arrogance. "Someone is attacking us. We must find out who and strike back." "It is not a weapon," a voice said from the back of the hall. Everyone turned. A single woman stood at the entrance. She was old, her blue skin faded to pale gray, her massive frame bent with years, but her eyes were sharp and clear. Captain had come home. "Who are you?" demanded. "How did you get in here?" "I am a merchant captain. I served the galactic trade routes for 40 years. Walked slowly toward the center of the hall, where humans had once stood before the judgment of 400 species. And I know what killed The hall went silent. Everyone watched her approach. "It is called the Void Swarm," continued. It has been coming for years. Warnings were sent. They were ignored. What warnings? Clicked his mandibles nervously. We received no warnings. You received dozens. Anonymous transmissions with complete data, observations, predictions, all of it accurate. Stopped at the center of the hall and looked up at the ancient chancellor. You dismissed them as hoaxes. We investigated those transmissions. They came from unknown sources. The data was unverifiable. Our sensors detected nothing. Your sensors are limited. You have been using the same technology for thousands of years because you stopped questioning whether it could be improved. This is absurd, the representative shouted. Who are you to lecture us? You are nobody, a merchant captain who probably made up this story for attention. Smiled, it was not a kind smile. You are right, I am nobody, but I know people who are very much something. People you exiled 65 years ago because they made you uncomfortable. A murmur ran through the hall. The word spread like fire, humans. She was talking about humans. Leaned forward. The humans are gone, they are primitives by now, forgotten, irrelevant. They are none of those things. Pulled out a small device and pressed a button. A holographic display appeared in the center of the hall, showing images that made every delegate gasp. The stations around Saturn, the fleet of rescue ships, the research centers with their impossible architecture, technology that everything the galaxy believed was possible. The humans did not decline when you exiled them, said. They thrived. They built things you cannot even understand. They watched the galaxy for decades trying to warn you about the swarm. You ignored them. You ignored everything. This is a trick, someone shouted, human propaganda. It is not a trick. I have seen it with my own eyes. I have walked their stations. I have spoken with their leaders. Turned slowly, looking at every delegate in turn. The humans knew about the void swarm years before it ate its first star. They tried to help you. You refused to listen. And now billions of people are going to die because of your arrogance. The hall erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted at each other and at the air itself. Fear made them angry. Anger made them stupid. No one knew what to do. Through it all, sat frozen. His compound eyes stared at the holographic images of human achievement. 65 years. In 65 years, they had surpassed everything the galaxy had built in 10,000. What do they want? He asked quietly. His voice cut through the noise somehow, silencing the hall. The humans, what do they want from us? Nothing, said. They want nothing from you. They stopped caring about your approval a long time ago. Then why are you here? Because I made a promise, because someone needs to tell you the truth even if you do not want to hear it. The void swarm is real. It is coming. Your technology cannot stop it. Your weapons cannot hurt it. Your ships cannot outrun it. She paused. But the humans have spent 65 years preparing for exactly this moment. They have ships. They have technology. They have plans. They can help. At what price? The delegate asked. Her light was dim with fear. What do they demand in return? I do not know. I have not spoken to them in years. But I know them well enough to say this. They will not let billions of innocents die just because their leaders made bad decisions. That is not who they are. The representative snorted. How can you know what they are? They are humans. They are aggressive, dangerous, unpredictable. They are survivors, said firmly. They are builders. They are people who faced rejection and chose to become better instead of bitter. I have seen them. I have worked with them. And I trust them more than I trust anyone in this room. Silence fell over the great hall. 400 species faced a truth they had spent decades avoiding. They needed help from the people they had cast out. We cannot contact them, said finally. Their jump gates were dismantled. There is no way to reach the Sol system. You do not need to reach them. Pulled out another device. The communicator had given her all those years ago. They have been listening the whole time. She activated the device. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then a voice filled the hall, clear and calm and very human. Supreme Chancellor, delegates of the Galactic Assembly. This is General Sung of the Human Defense Force. We have been monitoring this situation for 15 years. We are aware of the void swarm and its trajectory. We are prepared to assist in evacuation and defense operations. The hall was utterly silent. We will not pretend the past did not happen, General Sung continued. We remember our exile. We remember the vote. We remember that not a single species stood with us. But we also remember that the individuals of the galaxy are not responsible for the actions of their leaders. Billions of innocent people should not pay for decisions made by others. What do you propose? Asked. His voice was rough with emotion. A meeting. Send your representatives to the edge of the Sol system. We will meet them there. No weapons, no tricks, just a conversation about how to face this threat together. How do we know this is not a trap? You do not. You have no reason to trust us, but consider your alternatives. The void swarm will reach the next populated system in approximately 18 months. After that, the deaths will come faster and faster. Your choice is simple: talk to us or watch your galaxy die. The transmission ended. The holographic display faded. Stood alone in the center of the hall, surrounded by the most powerful beings in the galaxy, all of them looking at her as if she held their fates in her hands. What should we do? The delegate whispered. Looked at them all. The creatures who had ruled the galaxy who had decided humanity did not belong, who had ignored every warning until the darkness began to eat their stars. You should go to that meeting, she said. You should listen to what they have to say, and for once in your lives you should admit that you were wrong. She turned and walked out of the hall. Behind her, the chaos resumed, but this time it was different. This time, there was hope mixed with the fear. The meeting took place 3 months later. A delegation of 12 species traveled to the edge of the Sol system, their ships tiny and primitive compared to the human vessels that met them. General Sung was a tall man in his 50s, with gray in his black hair and a scar on his cheek from an old training accident. He greeted the delegates with formal respect, nothing more. "Thank you for coming," he said. "We had little choice," replied. The old chancellor had insisted on attending himself despite his age. This was his mistake to fix. He would see it through. "You always have a choice. You chose to come. That matters." They met on a neutral station, a small human facility designed specifically for this moment. The delegates looked around in wonder at technology they could not begin to understand. "Your ships," the delegate said, "how fast can they travel?" "Fast enough to outrun the swarm, fast enough to evacuate entire planets if needed." "But you cannot fight it." Sung hesitated. "We have weapons. We have developed things that can hurt the swarm, slow it down, but destroy it completely. No, we do not think that is possible. The best we can do is run, evacuate, save as many lives as possible." "That is all," sounded disappointed. "What did you expect? A magic solution that makes everything better. The swarm has been growing for thousands of years. It has eaten more stars than there are species in your assembly. We are powerful, but we are not gods." The delegates exchanged glances. They had hoped for more. They had hoped the humans would save them completely. "However," Sung continued, "we have a plan. It will not be easy. It will require cooperation between every species in the galaxy. It will require trust that has never existed before. But if we work together, we can save most of the population. Billions will survive who would otherwise die." "Most," repeated, "not all." "Not all. We cannot save everyone. The swarm is too fast, too vast. Some worlds will be lost, but the alternative is losing everything." The negotiations lasted for weeks. The details were complex. The emotions were raw. Old wounds were opened and examined and slowly, painfully began to heal. At one point, found himself alone with Sung, looking out a window at the stars. "I made the decision," the chancellor said quietly. 65 years ago, I led the vote to exile your people. I thought I was protecting the galaxy. I know. Do you hate me? Sung was silent for a long moment. I did once, when I was young and angry and could not understand why the galaxy feared us so much. But hate is exhausting. It does not build anything, so I let it go. Just like that. Not just like that, it took years, decades. But eventually I realized that hating you did not hurt you, it only hurt me. So I chose to focus on other things. Building, preparing, becoming something worth being. His mandibles clicked softly. We were wrong about your people, I see that now. You are not aggressive or dangerous. You are different in ways we could not understand. We are what we always were. You just could not see it through your fear. Will you help us, even after everything? Sung turned to face the ancient chancellor. His eyes were calm, certain, strong. We never stopped trying to help you. We just learned to do it in ways you could not refuse. He smiled slightly. Welcome back to the galaxy, Supreme Chancellor. It is time to get to work. The real work began immediately. Human ships spread across the galaxy, mapping evacuation routes, identifying priority planets, calculating how many could be saved and how quickly. The galaxy watched in amazement as the exiled species proved to be everything they had feared, and everything they had desperately needed. The Void Swarm continued its march, but for the first time, the galaxy was ready to run. And at the front of everything, leading the way into an uncertain future, were the humans who had been told they did not belong. They had waited 65 years for this moment, and now, finally, they had their answer. The galaxy had chosen to exile Earth, but Earth had chosen to save them anyway. The evacuation of the galaxy took 12 years. 12 years of chaos and fear and desperate hope. 12 years of human ships appearing over dying worlds, loading millions of refugees, jumping to safety before the Void Swarm could consume them. 12 years of watching stars go dark, one by one, like candles being blown out by an endless wind. And through it all, the humans never stopped working. Engineer Bin was 28 years old when the evacuation began. She was part of the first generation born entirely in the new human civilization, the children of exile who had never known the rejection of the galactic community. To her, the galaxy was not an enemy. It was simply a place full of people who needed help. She spent the first 5 years of the evacuation designing better transport ships. The original human vessels could carry 10,000 passengers. Her designs could carry 100,000, then 1,000,000. She worked without rest, without recognition, without asking for anything in return. By the 8th year, Bin had become one of the most important engineers in human history. But she did not care about fame. She only cared about the numbers. How many today? She would ask every morning. 14 million, her assistant would answer, or 20 million or 30. It was never enough. The swarm moved faster than anyone had predicted. Worlds fell before the evacuation ships could reach them. Species that had existed for millions of years vanished in single afternoons. But they saved more than they lost. That was what mattered. On the 10th year of the evacuation, Bin received a message from General Sung. Come to the command center. There is something you need to see. She found him standing before a massive display showing the entire galaxy. Most of it was dark now, eaten by the swarm. But in the center, around the old assembly headquarters, a cluster of stars still burned bright. The core worlds, Sung said. 3 trillion people, the last major population center in the galaxy. Can we evacuate them in time? No, his voice was heavy with exhaustion. The swarm will reach them in 18 months. We can save maybe 200 billion, the rest. He did not need to finish. Bin understood. 3 trillion people and they could only save a fraction. Unless, Sung continued, we give them our technology. Bin looked at him sharply. What do you mean? Our faster-than-light methods. our energy systems, our construction techniques. If we share everything, teach them how to build their own ships, they might be able to save themselves. That would take years to teach properly. Not if we give them the complete blueprints, not if we show them exactly how everything works. Sung turned to face her. Bin, you are our best engineer. You understand our technology better than anyone. Could you create a package, something that contains everything they need to know? Bin thought about this for a long moment. Human technology was not just machines, it was a way of thinking, a willingness to question everything, to try impossible things, to fail and learn and try again. Could that be taught? I can try, she said finally, but they will need help understanding it. Our technology does not follow galactic rules. It breaks everything they think they know. Then go to them, teach them yourself. Me. You are the best we have. And more importantly, you do not carry the anger of the old generation. You were not exiled, you have no grudges, they will trust you. Bin was quiet. She had never left the Sol system. She had never met a galactic species in person. The idea terrified her. But then she thought about the numbers. 3 trillion people, 200 billion saved, 2.8 trillion lost, unless she could change those numbers. When do I leave? She asked. Bin arrived at the assembly headquarters 3 weeks later. The great hall was full, but the mood was different from the old recordings she had seen. There was no arrogance here, no satisfied purple light. The crystal ceiling glowed gray with fear and desperation. Chancellor was dead. He had passed away peacefully 2 years ago, having spent his final days working to coordinate the evacuation. His successor, a young named, greeted Bin at the entrance. "Thank you for coming," said. Her light was dim and flickering. "We have heard about you, the engineer who designs impossible things." "I just solve problems," Bin said. "That is all any engineer does." "Can you solve this one? Can you save us?" Bin looked at the desperate faces filling the hall. 400 species, reduced to refugees begging for help from the people they had once rejected. She felt no satisfaction in their suffering. She only felt sad. "I can give you the tools," she said, "but saving yourselves is something you will have to do together." The teaching began immediately. Bin worked 20 hours a day, explaining concepts that galactic scientists had believed impossible for 10,000 years. She showed them how human engines worked, how human energy systems functioned, how human ships could travel faster than light without using jump gates. At first, they did not believe her. "This violates the laws of physics," a scientist protested. "It violates your laws of physics," Bin corrected gently. "Your laws are incomplete. They describe part of reality, not all of it. Human physics includes the parts you missed." "How did you discover these parts?" "We asked questions. We tested assumptions. We tried things that were supposed to be impossible," she smiled. "When you told us we could not do something, we asked why. Usually the answer was just because nobody had ever tried." Slowly, the galactic scientists began to understand. Not everyone. Some were too old, too set in their ways, too proud to admit they had been wrong. But the young ones, the curious ones, the ones who had always felt like something was missing from galactic science, they learned quickly. Within 3 months, the first galactic-built human-design ship was completed. It was ugly and rough, nothing like the elegant human vessels, but it worked. It jumped through space without a gate, carrying 10,000 refugees to safety. "It is not perfect," the lead builder said apologetically. "Perfect does not matter," Bin told him. "Working matters, keep building." They kept building. 1 ship became 10, 10 became 100, 100 became 1,000. The evacuation accelerated. The numbers changed. By the 15th month, they had saved 800 billion people. By the 17th month, 1.2 trillion. The swarm was close now, close enough to see its darkness eating the stars on the horizon, but they were faster. On the final day, as the swarm reached the last inhabited world, Bin stood on the bridge of a human vessel and watched the evacuation complete. The last transport jumped to safety carrying 3 million refugees. Behind them, the swarm consumed the empty planet they had called home. "How many?" she asked. 2.9 trillion saved, her assistant reported. Out of 3 trillion, 97%. Bin closed her eyes. 3% lost. 90 billion people. It was a tragedy, a horror. But 97% saved. That was something. That was everything. General Sung appeared beside her, older now, his hair completely white. "You did it. We did it, all of us together. The galactic leaders want to speak with you. They want to offer you something." "Offer me what?" "Rule, leadership. They want humanity to take charge of rebuilding civilization. They say we have earned it." Bin thought about this. Power, authority, the chance to shape the galaxy according to human values. It was tempting in a way. "No," she said. "No. We do not want to rule them. That is not why we helped. That is not who we are." "Then what do we want?" Bin looked out at the stars, fewer now, dimmer but still burning, still alive. "We want them to be our equals, not our subjects, not our inferiors, partners." The meeting with the galactic leaders took place on a station orbiting a yellow star in what had once been a quiet corner of space. It would become the center of the new civilization, the capital of whatever came next. Chancellor spoke for the survivors. "We do not know how to thank you. You saved us. You shared everything. You gave us your technology, your knowledge, your time, after everything we did to you." "Stop," Bin said gently. "We do not want your thanks. We do not want your apologies. The past happened. It cannot be changed. What matters is what we do now." "What do you want us to do?" Bin stepped forward and held out a data crystal. It contained everything, every piece of human technology, every scientific discovery, every philosophical insight. The complete inheritance of 65 years of independent development. "Take this," she said. "Learn from it, improve it, share it freely. Build a civilization where no species is exiled for being different, where questions are welcomed, not feared, where impossible just means not yet." Took the crystal with trembling light. This is everything. You are giving us everything. We are giving you a chance, the same chance you us. What you do with it is up to you." "Why?" another delegate asked. "Why help us at all? We rejected you. We feared you. We said you did not belong." Bin smiled. It was her mother's smile, warm and kind and without bitterness. "'Cause that is who we choose to be. You saw humanity as aggressive and dangerous. Maybe some of us are, but most of us are just people trying to do the right thing. When we were exiled, we could have spent 65 years planning revenge. Instead, we spent it building something worth being proud of." She looked around at all of them, the species who had voted against humanity, the leaders who had ignored warnings, the scientists who had said human ideas were impossible. The galaxy chose to exile Earth. But we chose not to let that define us. And now we choose to give you everything freely with no conditions, because that is the kind of species we want to be. Silence filled the chamber. For a long moment, no one moved. Then did something no had ever done before. She dimmed her light completely, becoming almost invisible, the ultimate gesture of respect and humility. "We were wrong about you," she said. "We were so wrong." "We know," Bin said. "It does not matter anymore." The rebuilding took decades. New worlds were settled. New stations were built. The technology Bin had shared spread everywhere, transforming everything it touched. Ships that once took months to build could be completed in days. Diseases that had plagued species were cured. Energy that had been scarce became abundant. And through it all, humanity remained what it had always been: different. They did not try to lead. They did not demand special treatment. They simply lived among the other species as equals, sharing and learning and growing together. Ancient now, but still alive thanks to human medicine, visited Earth for the first time. She walked through cities that had existed when humanity was young, touched trees that had been planted centuries ago, breathed air that had seen the birth and death of countless generations. "It is beautiful," she said to her guide, a young human named Junho who had volunteered to show her around. "It is home," he said simply. "We never stopped loving it, even when the galaxy forgot about us." "How do you do it?" asked. "How do you stay so hopeful after everything?" Junho thought about this. "My grandmother used to tell me a story. When we were exiled, she was just a child. She remembered watching the jump gates come down, remembered the fear and uncertainty. But she also remembered her parents telling her something important. Every ending is also a beginning." "What does that mean?" "It means that when something ends, you get to choose what comes next. The galaxy ended our membership in their community. But that was also the beginning of something new, a chance to become whatever we wanted to be without anyone else's rules." He smiled. "We chose to become people worth knowing, and here we are." Looked out at the blue sky, the green hills, the yellow sun. A world that had been alone for 65 years and had used that time to become something extraordinary. "Here we are," she agreed. Far away in the darkness between galaxies, the void swarm continued its eternal journey. It had consumed much of the galaxy, eaten trillions of stars, destroyed more than any force in history. But it had not won. Life continued, civilization rebuilt, and at the heart of everything, the species that had been told they did not belong proved that belonging was never the point. Being worthy, that was what mattered. And humanity, exiled and forgotten and underestimated, had become worthy beyond anyone's imagination. The galaxy had chosen to exile Earth. Earth had chosen to save the galaxy anyway. That was the human way. That had always been the human way. And it always would be.